Will the Chicago win over or under 8.5 games this season? I'm Professor MJ, a University Statistics Professor, and in this video, I'm going to answer this vital question via a thorough statistical study I made that included simulating the 2020 season 1 million times. So keep watching until the end. It was a roller coaster ride for the Bears last year. They started with a 3-1 record before losing 5 of their next 6 meetings. They concluded the season by winning 4 of the last 6 games, but it was not enough to qualify for the playoffs. After a NFC North title in 2018, the Bears ended with a disappointing 8-8 record last season. The offense was often criticized, deservedly so by the way, and changes needed to be made. Alright, let's talk about the quarterback position for the Bears. Mitchell Trubisky has had an uncharacteristic journey in the NFL thus far. After being selected as the number 2 overall pick, he had a rookie season where he threw 7 TD passes versus 7 picks. He took a nice leap in his sophomore year with 24 TDs and 12 interceptions, while leading the team to its first division title since 2010. Now, QBs showing such a nice growth from year 1 to year 2 rarely crash down the following season, but that pretty much describes Trubisky's third year in the league. He graded as the 30th best QB in the NFL out of 37 qualifiers based on Pro Football Focus rankings, which is really bad. This situation was inexplicable. It's not like the team had lost many key pieces on offense. What the heck happened to Trubisky? Now, GM Ryan Pace has set up nicely a good QB battle in camp between Trubisky and newly acquired Nick Foles. What's interesting is Foles himself has had ups and downs in his career. He was outstanding in 2013 by throwing 27 TDs versus just 2 interceptions. He also led the Eagles to a Super Bowl in the 2017 season after Carson Wentz went down to an injury. Foles also performed pretty well in 2018. However, he was not so good in 2014, 15, and more recently, 19. Now, what type of quarterback will he be in the Windy City? Who's going to get the starting nod? My own guess is Foles wins the job early on. Backup QB Chase Daniel left for a division rival, the Detroit Lions. Overall, adding Foles over Daniel is clearly an upgrade over 2019, while also keeping in mind the fact that Trubisky may return to his previous form, which is not impossible for a young guy like him. Let's discuss the Bears running backs. What the heck happened to TARIK COHEN? I have always liked small and fast guys. For this reason, he had become one of my favorite guys to watch. Watching him last year and the entire offense was sad. His yards per rush average went from 4.5 to 3.3. His yards per catch average went from 10.2 to 5.8. He could not get going all season long. In 2017 and 18, Jordan Howard and TARIK COHEN were a great version of the thunder and lightning combo. Now, despite losing Howard, the production was not supposed to drop significantly because of the acquisition of David Montgomery through the draft. But that's not how things played out. The team went from 11th to 27th place in terms of rushing yards per game. Montgomery finished the year with a disappointing 3.7 yards per carry average. Now, both Montgomery and Cohen will be back in 2020. Well, perhaps they'll do better this year, but I don't expect a huge upgrade either. Let's see what we have in store at the wide receiver position. Finally a guy that has produced consistent results in this offense, Allen Robinson, catching 98 balls for 1,147 yards and 7 TDs despite such bad QB play was phenomenal. You can count on him to generate good numbers again, especially in a contract year. Now a former second-round pick, Anthony Miller, caught 52 passes last season, after catching 33 the year before. The only blemish was the number of TD receptions, which went from 7 to just 2 last year. Miller started the year slowly, following an offseason injury that made him miss some time in camp. His role could be increased after the departure of Taylor Gabriel. The Bears pulled the plug on the Taylor Gabriel experiment. After showing some flashes with the Falcons, he never lived up to expectations in Chicago. So again, the production from this group may be steady in 2020. Okay, let's talk about the Bears tight end, shall we? Well, I'm sorry Bears fans, but one of the worst free agent acquisitions, in my humble opinion, was Jimmy Graham for 2 years and $16 million. The price paid versus the production doesn't make any sense at all. If you look at his numbers, you can see a clear decline. His first 7 seasons were a success. His lowest mark according to PFF during that time span was about 75. Then he received a 66 grade in 2017, and then 59.6, and then 58 last year. To make matters worse, remember that the last 2 years were with the Packers, who happen to have a quarterback named Aaron Rodgers. Have you heard of him? TREY BURTON was another huge disappointment last year. After catching 54 passes a couple of years ago, he only caught 14 in 8 games. He was released and picked up by the Indianapolis Colts. The team drafted Cole Kmet in the second round in this year's draft. He doesn't have that much experience as a pass catcher, since he only started racking up decent stats last year. But he has a big catch radius. He will likely need time to develop into a solid starter. Now, as if the team did not have enough tight ends, Chicago went on to sign Demetrius Harris, formerly of the Browns. He graded as the 66th best tight end out of 66 qualifiers, so enough said about him. This group did very little last year. A bunch of 6 guys combined for 46 catches. Despite the questionable moves, I expect a small upgrade. Perhaps Graham can magically rejuvenate his career? Maybe it's time to talk about the offensive line. Let's do this. Well, 4 out of 5 starters are returning. CODY Whitehair, James Daniels, Charles LENO, and Bobby MASSIE. Only Daniels graded as above average. The others finished in the middle of the pack or even lower. Now, Kyle Long announced his retirement. Cornelius Lucas left for Washington. The new starter on the offensive line will be German Ifedi, who made at least 13 starts in each of his first 4 seasons in the league, all with the Seahawks. So in summary, we have a not-so-great starter being replaced by a not-so-great player. So therefore, we can expect similar results to 2019, which was average play. So, what can we expect from this 2020 offense for the Bears? Inconsistency is a recurring theme for many players from this unit: Trubisky, Foles, and Cohen. My final conclusion is a small upgrade over 2019, mainly because of the QB position. The chances are fairly good that either Foles provides a spark or Trubisky regains his 2018 form. However, don't expect a MVP type of season from any of them. The rest of the offense should expect similar output. Acquiring Graham and Ifedi is nothing to write home about, just as losing Taylor Gabriel is not a big loss either. Now, what do I expect from the 2020 Bears defense, you're asking? Let me answer the question without going into the breakdown of each position. Well, the Bears allowed the fourth fewest points in the league last season, which was great. Can we expect a similarly good 2020 season? I doubt it. First, the good news. AKIEM HICKS is back from an injury that made him miss 11 games, and the team acquired steady sack producer Robert Quinn from the Dallas Cowboys. Now, what about the bad news? Losing defensive lineman Nick Williams, defensive end Leonard Floyd, linebackers Nick Kwiatkowski and Kevin Pierre-Louis, cornerback Prince Amukamara, and safety Haha Clinton Dix. Oof, that's a lot of bodies that need to be replaced. We're talking about at least 4 new starters and some key depth. So overall, my guess is it takes a moderate blow to the Bears' defense. Their front seven is likely to remain very good, but the secondaries worry me. I would not fall off my chair if the team went from 4th best in points allowed to the 10th to 12th range. Now, should we bet the Bears to win over or under 8.5 games in 2020? Here is the methodology I chose to use. Well, first, I took a look at the website betonline.ag. They have posted odds on all 256 regular season games for the 2020 season. Now, it's pretty easy to convert those point spreads into win probabilities. Now, I used a statistical program called R in order to simulate each game by following the win probabilities of the road and home team. So by doing so, I came up with one simulated season. And then I went on to simulate 1 million seasons, and I asked my program to count the number of times the Bears won 9 games or more versus the number of times they won 8 games or less. And here are the results. In 38% of the cases, the Bears won over 8.5 games. Now, this fairly low probability does not necessarily mean you should avoid betting the over, because obviously it depends on the odds that you are getting. Now, after looking at many online sportsbooks, the best odds I have found are plus 148 at Pinnacle Sports, which turns out to be 2.48 if you are more familiar with decimal odds. Now, based on these odds and our chance of winning, which is 38%, our ROI, return on investment, is minus 5.8%. Now, what about the under? Now, obviously, since we have a 38% chance of winning the over, it means we have a 62% chance of winning the under. And the best odds I have ever found are minus 130 at mybookie.ag. And this translates into a plus 9.7% ROI. So, my final betting tip here is to bet the under. Now listen up, one final piece of advice. Do not bet the under at any price. In this specific case, I would argue that the worst odds that you should be accepting are minus 140. This play on the under was the 26th highest ROI among the NFL's 32 clubs. Tomorrow, I'm going to unveil the team whose ROI is 25th. It's going to be on the Green Bay Packers. Are we going to bet the over or the under? You'll get the answer tomorrow. Until then, subscribe to my YouTube channel for all my insightful sport betting tips. A big thank you for watching. I'm Professor MJ, a University Statistics Professor from Canada. I see you tomorrow with more plays.